I swear I'm not a monitor-only channel, but it seems that's what you guys want, so I'm gonna keep milking these views as much as I can without sacrificing quality, of course. With that said, this is the Dell S2721DGF, a monitor that seems to be a direct competitor to the LG 27GN850, at least that's what you guys said in that review. Before we start, I'm trying to hit 100 million subscribers by the end of the year, so for all you non-subscribers, if you guys could subscribe, that would be awesome. Okay, let's start with the basics. The S2721DGF is 27 inches, has an IPS panel with a resolution of 2560 by 1440, and a refresh rate of 165 Hz. It also has G-Sync compatibility, AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, and an 8-bit panel with FRC to simulate 10-bit color. The build and design is very nice. It uses the same high-quality, smooth finished plastics that the Alienware lineup uses. It has grooves and vent-like designs on the base, with the base having a spaceship-like design with a small profile, not taking up a lot of desk space. The stand is plain, but includes a wire routing hole, and the back of the monitor also has the same vented design as the base, but these are actually vents, pushing air through the back of the monitor. The RGB, or in this case B, is very tasteful. Not too much, not too little, and it wraps all around the ventilation, giving the monitor a handsome look. There's also one of Dell's logos. For I/O, or input-output, it includes two HDMI 2.0 ports, one DisplayPort 1.4 port, one audio in and audio out port, and a USB 3.0 upstream port to power the four USB 3.0 ports. It's very flexible, tilting 5 degrees forward and 21 degrees back, having 130 millimeters of height adjustment, swiveling left and right 45 degrees, and pivoting 90 degrees in any direction. It also has 100 by 100 VESA mounting support, so you can mount this to a monitor arm or stand. On the front of the monitor, you have your typical thin top and side bezels with a slightly bigger chin that also includes another Dell logo. Overall, I think it's a very good looking monitor, striking the perfect balance between a work and gaming focused monitor fitting in any type of setting. Also, tell me if you agree with me or if I'm crazy, but I feel like this looks more like an Alienware monitor than the Alienware monitors. Don't get me wrong, the Alienwares look great with that awesome stand and base, but the back of the Dell just has more going for it. Anyway, next is gamut coverage and color accuracy. And just like the build and design, the Dell does very well in both respects. It covers 100% of the sRGB color space, 83% of Adobe RGB, and 95% of the DCI-P3 color spaces, so you photo and video editors that like to game, you'll be very happy with this. Color accuracy out of the box was great as well. My unit in particular, with everything set to its defaults, produced an uncalibrated delta E of 3.25 with a peak brightness of 386 nits and a contrast ratio of 844:1. So the contrast is mediocre and not quite the 1001 that Dell advertises, but this is unfortunately normal for manufacturers to do, and to be fair, you won't really notice it. That doesn't mean I'm gonna let it slide, because Dell should either do better or just post the actual numbers on the box and not an estimate. The brightness and the 3.25 average delta E, on the other hand, is fantastic. For those that are not familiar with what a delta E is, anything between 0 and 1 is perfect, and anything about 7 or 8 is noticeably off, at least for IPS panels. I used to say 5 is bad because that's what everybody on Google says. But after using a lot of monitors, I found that only TN panels with a delta E of 5 or more did bad, whereas IPS panels looked totally fine for general non-color critical use. Just remember that even if you buy the same monitor as me, that doesn't mean you're gonna have the same results. All monitors produce different results, and yours may just end up being worse or better than mine, although probably not by much. Regardless, when calibrated, the 2721 produced impeccable results, producing an average delta E of 0.33 while being on the custom color profile with the RGB, or red, green, blue colors, set to 100, 97, and 100. This is the best results from any monitor I've had to date, but it did lower the peak brightness to 362 nits and the contrast ratio to 796:1. I'll leave a link in the video description so you can download my ICC color profile for yourself, but just remember that it may make your monitor's colors look better or worse. Also, with every monitor review comes a bunch of people asking, how do I calibrate my monitor? That'll probably be my next video, but I'm not sure yet. But get subscribed if you haven't already if you don't want to miss that. I'm just trying to get it out sometime this month, but I cannot promise you that. It's either this month or next month. Anyways, viewing angles are great from all angles, doing as well as the LG 27GN850, and slightly better than some more gaming-focused 240Hz IPS panels, at least from what I remember. And when it came to IPS glow, that was about average. My unit also had no backlight bleed at all. Now let's talk about its gaming performance, starting with the pixel response time. The 2721DGF has 3 levels of overdrive: fast, super fast, and extreme. Starting with fast, things look about average for this refresh rate, and if I compare it to the LG 27GN850, they both perform about the same. Going to super fast eliminates some ghosting, but the LG does ever so slightly better with its fast mode, eliminating more of that yellow trail, but only slightly. Now before I show you extreme, I just want to ask Dell, why? Why do you try copying LG here? Some of you may already know what I'm talking about if you know how the LG performs on its highest overdrive. If you don't, well, here you go. This is the LG on its highest overdrive, and here's the Dell where it's just applying an insane amount of voltage to try to give you that 1 millisecond response time. This is another example of why I don't care about advertised specs. 1 millisecond it says, so what? Let me ask you this, Dell engineers in charge of this, and not just Dell, any company that does this. You too, LG. If you're looking for a monitor that advertises a 1 millisecond response time and that's what you get, would you use it? Didn't think so. Just lie like plenty of other companies do and just give us something slightly better than super fast instead of wasting that last overdrive setting. Rant aside, the best overdrive setting for the Dell is super fast since it doesn't add any overshoot even if the frame rate drops to as low as 60 FPS, since it seems that the monitor adjusts the voltage based on the refresh rate. Next is the black equalizer. And fortunately for the Dell, it fares way better than any other Dell or Alienware monitor I've used before. The 2721's black equalizer still has the same range from 0 to 3, but what makes it better is that not only does it get brighter than other Dell and Alienwares, but it also no longer has that Borderlands effect that gave everything a thick black edge. Starting with the black equalizer off inside the interchange garage in Escape from Tarkov, things are super dark, and if someone was trying to blend in with a container or a wall, well, I wouldn't see them even if they were wearing a reflective jacket. To give you an idea of how well or bad this performs, here's the LG. They do about the same, but the Dell has slightly more color, which is good for scenes or games with grayscale-ish color themes. If we increase the Dell's black equalizer to 1, things get slightly brighter, 2 makes things brighter than 1, and 3 makes things, well, brighter. Compare that to the LG, and again, both seem to do about as good as each other. One way the Dell distinguishes itself from the LG, however, is that it includes a color vibrance feature called saturation, where the LG does not. This allows the Dell to add more color when needed, like right now, so you can distinguish people from their background easier. Next is Rainbow Six Siege. Here's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 3 with color saturation, making Wamai's head completely discernible from his background. So, in a nutshell, the black equalizer is good and provides plenty of color saturation for games like Tarkov, Siege, CSGO, and whatever else you want it for. Lastly, we have the OSD or on-screen display. The OSD on the S2721DGF is controlled by a nipple as well as 4 buttons on the back of the monitor that feel very nice to press, having a very satisfying tactile press. 3 of the 4 buttons are used for shortcuts and are completely customizable to pretty much anything you'd want to set to it. The top is always exit, and the bottom 3 buttons are the shortcut buttons. Pushing the nipple in accesses the full OSD where you have your game menu to change your presets, game enhanced mode, which is your timer, frame rate, and display alignment, FreeSync, response time, dark stabilizer, and hue and saturation, which are only accessible through certain preset modes. Next we have brightness and contrast, can't get any more obvious than that. Display, which lets you change your color format, sharpness, and smart HDR, and personalize, which lets you change your shortcuts, turn on and off your blue light in the back of the monitor, and allow the USB ports to stay hot or cold when the monitor is on standby mode. There's also a software-based OSD called Dell Display Manager that I would strongly recommend everyone get because once you set up your profiles, you're set for life. It's very basic looking, but it's a very strong piece of software. Rather than controlling the buttons on the back of the monitor, you can easily adjust your brightness and contrast, and if you click Configure, you're presented with another screen that allows you to set specific profiles for certain applications in the foreground. So for example, if I want, I can set the best profile for media consumption and daily use, which for me is the custom profile, and I can have another profile for Siege, Tarkov, Valorant, and so on, which instantly and automatically switches to that profile and enables the black equalizer, color saturation, and so on once that software is in the foreground. Unfortunately, you can't control those gamer-focused features from the software-controlled OSD, but once you set it up on the monitor itself, just tell the software which profile you want for whatever software, and all those changes will be made for you when that profile is activated. A couple other notes before I conclude my thoughts. If you're buying this monitor for its HDR, just stop right there. Yeah, it has VESA's HDR 400 certification, but because that's not only far off from 1000 nits, but also has no full array local dimming, HDR is bad, and I would just recommend leaving it on the default SDR mode or standard dynamic range. Next is input lag. I don't have any input lag figures since the Leo Bodner only does 60 Hz, but if I were to compare this to any other 144 Hz monitor, it responds about the same as pretty much any other 144 Hz display I've ever used, even the gaming focused ones. Next is the vignetting effect on the corner of the monitors. It was immediately noticeable, but it wasn't bad, and I didn't notice it after a few hours of using it. And for those that already have this monitor or are planning on getting it and notice it, my unit gets pretty warm on the right side of the chin, but that's probably because that's where you plug the power cable in, and that's most likely where the power supply is. So in conclusion, what do I think of the Dell S2721DGF? Is it a good monitor? And is it worth spending $500 or $50 more than the LG? Well, it's definitely a fantastic monitor. I get that its focus isn't solely on gaming, but a mixture of work and gaming, and it does those very well with whatever you throw at it. It's got not only a good amount of gamer-focused features, but gamer-focused features that work well too, which is a struggle I see from plenty of other monitors that just throw in a feature to say that they have it, but it sucks. It also does productivity and media consumption super well. I don't do super color critical work because my camera shoots in 8-bit, not 10-bit, and it doesn't shoot in RAW, so I can't really take advantage of the 8-bit plus FRC panel. Plus, I'd have to learn how to do color work properly, but for basic color work, it did perfectly fine for me. Back to gaming though, it responds just as good as any other 144 Hz gaming monitor I've used, even though I know it's 165 Hz. So that isn't an issue for me, and if you're somewhat competitive and like to play cinematic games like Star Citizen or whatever you like, this ticks all the boxes except for the highest level of competitive gaming. Now in terms of choosing between the LG and the Dell, which one would I go for? Well, I would definitely go with the Dell for a bunch of reasons. The software-based OSD makes switching profiles much easier. It has a crap ton of I/O. The design is much better, at least in my opinion. And even though the black equalizer performs about the same on both, having the color saturation on the Dell makes that much of a difference. So yeah, the LG is $50 cheaper, but spending that extra $50 gets you so much more. The only thing is that it doesn't have a true 10-bit panel, but uses FRC to simulate the 10-bit. I have no clue if FRC performs identically or if it even compares to a true 10-bit panel. Maybe someone in the comments can let me know. But if it does, I don't see why you shouldn't get this. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like. If you disliked it, support the channel by leaving a dislike. Check out the links in the video description if you'd like to see, or if you're interested in any of the stuff I featured in this video. And as an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Don't forget to follow me on my socials, which are in a pinned comment in the description, or just in a pinned comment, not in the description. And other than that, have a great day, every day. Peace.